What's up, family? Welcome back to the Stop Sinking Show, where we go from struggle to flow. Like the majority of people, most of my day feels like it almost runs away from me. Other than a few stretches of periods in my life, I can recall most of my years being spent just trying to catch up to the day, to the week, or the month, quarter, or the year. I've never felt like I get ahead or start out ahead. Again, other than those few stretches in my life where I'm routinely up before the sun and I'm centered before any human interaction, other than those times, most of my life has been spent just springing out of bed and start moving as fast as possible to get through the predetermined day. I've never felt like there's enough time. Part of it is because I waste some of it that can be harnessed, but in those moments, those time wasted feel so deserved. And I've been thinking about this lately because one of the things that I always fantasize about with this time wasted and hoping that I had so much time, one of the things that I always fantasize about and never get around to doing, it's this romantic dream that I have of having enough time where I can lock myself in a room with a paper and pen. And with time, I mean the clarity of mind as well. The time in my mind is so I don't feel like I'm in a rush, where I can just lock myself in a room with a paper and pen and just start drawing out my life. Just thinking about and thinking through all the hard questions to ask myself and coming up with answers and all the things that would help define some vision for my life. One that I have yet to see clearly enough, obviously, to guide me on a day-to-day basis. And this busyness that keeps me away from this fantasy always presents something more compelling than this rumination time that I fantasize about. This rumination time that really needs room created around it to happen. And I've been thinking about it a lot because my life, or the lack of what my life can be, is a culmination of those unanswered questions and lack of clarity. And to compensate for it, I add more busyness to my plate. Because I feel the lack and the stress and the lack of those answers, I try to look outward for those answers. I read more, I listen more, I learn more, I absorb and consume more, always hoping to find something that resonates and helps me answer some deep-seated question that I'm not even able to get to myself. Forget the answer, I'm barely able to get to the question. And lately, I've been just realizing how much of a disservice I'm doing to myself by delaying this finding out of myself inside myself. And realizing how I really have to seize looking outside for what lies inside. And maybe there's a reason for why I haven't taken this time. Maybe I'm afraid to spend that time alone. Maybe I don't even know how to do it. Maybe I don't have the faith that anything productive will come of it. Maybe some part of me really believes the answers are actually outside of me and the ones that are outside are better than the ones that I have inside. But having tried this way of living for so long where I'm looking on the outside and turning up to a life that I'm not so proud of living, for the next 30 days, I'm going to make a deliberate effort to really go inwards. Most people check out in the month of August. And if you're with me, let's spend this month checking in. Let's spend the next 30 days checking in instead of checking out. Now, 1,000 questions come up in my mind of how I will go about this and what structure and process that I'm even proposing. But because this is the first time I'm going through this, I do not have those answers. At least not for this next 30 days. But if you're with me and up for crawling down towards your own path to go inwards, then I think we might come across some answers that lie inside that will guide future versions of what this inner discovery should look like uniquely to us. Because even if I had some ideas or notions and things that I've read and learned on how to go about this and could share it with you, I'll refrain from doing so, because that in itself is my tendency to look for direction from the outside so I can do it right. And the opposite is what I want to bring out, to let that inner voice get louder. And for that to happen, I have to encourage myself and you to silence the directions that come from the outside, because they do not lead into you. What I will share, though, and I'll end on this note, what I will share is some of the constraints I will put on myself to give room for that rumination to happen. For the next 30 days, I will leave my mind, and I will leave more room for my mind to ruminate. But because I know my mind has a tendency to turn negative and have arguments with the shampoo bottle if the free time is not occupied productively, if I don't give it some task to at least keep my brain ruminating on some positive track, what I will attempt to do and borrow from those structured times in my life where I feel more centered, I will begin my day with at least some grounding routine, like a 10-minute meditation on one of my favorite apps, or even just expressing internal gratitude for 2 minutes, just so I can shift the way that I have woken up. And I will use each day to at least come up with one penetrating question to answer. And I don't know if 30 days will mean 30 different questions or 30 different answers, considering the depth and difficulty of some of these questions that will require maybe more days, multiple days to ruminate. But it will at least, these questions will at least focus my ruminating towards a specific direction inward, and not just let my brain haphazardly be whipped by that day's emotion. So the only constraint, and other than this constraint, to nudge my mind in this positive direction, I expect to leave the rest to be free form and learn from it. So if you're like me, and probably the majority of everyone you know, the next 30 days will be a welcomed reset. And at the least a reminder that more answers lie inside than are to be found out there. Or maybe that's wrong. I guess we'll find out if you're up for it. 30 days, start now. Love you, family. See you on the next show. Twice a week, every week. But 30 days from now, I hope I have more clarity to share with you. Or maybe I don't want to share it. We'll see. Love you. Bye.